I challenge anybody who, man or woman, if you can maintain an erection, or if you're a woman and you can stay horny upside down, like, you won. You know what I mean? You got it. I learned this from a very special individual in my life, right? A mentor, we'll call it that. And you know, when I first heard it, I was like, wow, it's that straightforward. To transmute the energy, to raise the energy, it makes sense that all you have to do is go upside down. It's the fastest way to raise the energy and send it to the crown, right? It's as simple as going upside down. Isn't that crazy? I challenge you to maintain an aroused state upside down. It's fucking impossible, right? There's no blood flow going to your genitals, so you're not gonna be horny. And it happens very quick. Within seconds, you're already gonna feel like you're in a different state. Now, you guys have heard of things like breath work, right? Pranayama, Qigong, and other, you know, very well-known transmutative practices, but those things take time to master, if I'm being honest with you. And for a typical beginner, it's not going to be the best way for you to transmute. You're going to get horny very quickly again. I've talked to some of you guys on the back end who, you know, you do these things, but you're still struggling to transmute the energy. Inversions have been a game changer for me, right? In terms of keeping my energy risen, keeping it in higher chakras. It's been a game changer. Now, how do I do it? I can't do inversions naturally. I can't do it with a handstand. Shout out to you guys who do calisthenics and all that stuff. Shout out to you guys, because I try. That shit's hard. Handstands, some of you guys are doing handstands and shit. You know, you're walking on your hands. Like, I would love to be able to do that, but that's not the case, right? So because I cannot do that, I have an inversion table. Many of you guys, you know, have asked me, what do I use for inversions? I'm going to show you the table that I use. It's a typical Innova inversion table. I think they kind of dominate that market. So, you know, I went ahead and got a good one. It was like 150 bucks, I think, on Amazon. I think they're a very reputable brand. And I wanted to get a good one. You know, if it's going to be holding me upside down, I don't want to get some bullshit. And it's been very good since. So that's the inversion table that I use. You know, I'll put a link for you guys in my description if you want to check it out. Now, this takes us to wet dreams, right? And I'm gonna tell you guys this, before we started even ejaculating as men, before we were even conscious of what sex was, many of you guys remember that there were times in your youth, right? Again, before the porn, before you started ejaculating, a lot of you guys, you had wet dreams, right? A lot of you guys, you wet the bed before, right? We all did it. And at the time, I don't think our brains were sexualized enough to where we could blame porn or anything for wet dreams, right? They just kind of happened, right? It was a natural mechanism. There's this thing that I've been noticing, and you know, I see it in many comments underneath many videos. A lot of you guys freak out when you have wet dreams, and I can understand when it's like a wet dream that's very draining, but some of you guys get wet dreams, you don't feel any different, but because you've been, you know, I don't want to say brainwashed, but there's something in the semen retention niche that's conditioning men to think that, you know, all wet dreams are bad. I've mentioned this before. Not all wet dreams are equal. All wet dreams, for the most part, they're mainly prostate fluid. So for those of you guys talking about cancer, by the way, you know, semen retention cancer, this, well, guess what? Your body regulates itself, right? The prostate regulates itself. All wet dreams are inherently prostate fluid. Now, depending on where your brain was before that wet dream, that will dictate how much semen was lost, right? How much semen you lost in that wet dream. If you're doing all the right things and you're living clean and you're controlling your thoughts, right? You're living high vibe, right? And you go to bed one day and you wake up and you had a wet dream, odds are very good that it was just a prostate fluid flush, really, right? So you shouldn't feel drained. Now, the ones that are draining are when you're fantasizing, or you spent an entire day with, you know, sexual thoughts in your mind, and you didn't, you know, you didn't calm the thoughts down. You just kept entertaining them. You kept fantasizing. Well, that night you go to bed and you get a wet dream and you wake up and you feel depleted. You feel more lethargic than the day before, right? Those wet dreams are different, right? Those wet dreams had more semen in them. Now, I'm gonna keep it honest with you. An orgasm is completely different. The orgasm is the root of sexual energy leakage, right? The orgasm. When you guys are, you know, those of you guys, we all did it, right? When we're about to release and come, right? You guys ever notice how we would like convulse towards this center right here? So we would convulse towards our center. and your body is pulling the best nutrients that it has all over the body, right? Pulling it all to one point, right? Your penis, if you're a man, and then boom, right? Pleasure. A wet dream is nowhere near as draining as that, right? You're pulling from organs. You're pulling the best blood. You're pulling from your brain. You're pulling from everywhere in order for your body to really, provide a fresh or the best DNA sample that it can, right? That's draining. So for people to think that a wet dream can compare to that, no, it's not even close. At the same time, when you do have those wet dreams after, sexually fantasizing, after not controlling your mind, yes, those will have some semen in it, but it's not going to be your best semen, right? In order for your body to pull and extract the best semen from it, you have to have an orgasm, right? Which is why, again, that's a different type of leakage. So you got nothing to worry about. If you do get a wet dream, just up your zinc, you know what I mean? Eat some red meat, eat some chicken. If you're a vegan or if you don't eat meat, get some eggs in or get some pumpkin seeds in, right? Eat something high in zinc and you're going to notice you recover very quickly. But you've got nothing to worry about, man. If you're, you get the wet dream, 24, 48 hours, assuming you eat right, you'll be back to where you left off. Eggs are great. Pound for pound, it's one of the best foods you can eat. And if you guys really pay attention to eggs kind of look like semen. You guys have seen raw eggs. You guys see how it kind of has a similar consistency as semen? You know what I mean? I think that's very interesting, but there's a clue there. If you're struggling with wet dreams, eggs, and inversions, that's it, right? Go upside down, recover with eggs. That's it.